Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brendan and I am a certified pinball aholic, I guess you'd call me. I've been addicted to pinball my whole life, and at the ripe old age of 33, I find myself with about 20 pinball machines in my basement because I have a serious affliction, let's just put it that way. This is our intro to pinball video, and in continuing with our series, what we'd like to start doing for LIRetro is start reviewing the games in my collection, and then potentially other games outside of my collection as well. But I wanted to give everyone an introductory video to pinball just to kind of describe this hobby, give you sort of just a crash course on what to expect if you get into the pinball hobby, and maybe some disclaimers about not getting into the pinball hobby if you're worried about spending too much money or going down this rabbit hole. And trust me, it is a rabbit hole. And if you buy one pinball machine, I guarantee you, you're gonna want to buy another one. So the most common question I get asked about pinball machines, well, besides the gimmicky question of, oh, do you still have to put quarters in them? No, of course you don't have to put quarters in them. They're in your house, so you can just play them for free. Is how much does a pinball machine cost? And people come into my basement and they see all these games and they think that I've spent thousands of dollars buying these things. And the truth of the matter is that on one hand, pinball is very, very expensive, and on other hand, it can be very cheap if you know what you're doing and you're patient. If you go out and buy a fully restored pinball machine, you can spend anywhere from $1,500 to $15,000, sometimes even more for some really collectible, rare games. But if you're willing to learn a thing or two about fixing games and cleaning games and restoring games, even if you're not doing crazy restorations, you can save some money. You can buy project machines. You can get games a lot cheaper. You can find games that are being thrown out. I've gotten games off the side of the road before. I've pulled over in my car and actually pulled games into my car because they were just being thrown away. And those things happen. I've gotten machines for free, and for games that I really wanted, you know, I've ponied up. I've paid for them. I've traded games. There's all sorts of ways once you're in the hobby to actually acquire the machines. But the bad news is that in 2021, the time of this video being recorded, is that pinball is as hot as it's ever been. And the prices for machines has never been higher. So if you're looking to just get into the pinball hobby, that's the bad news. You're gonna be spending a lot more than these games were ever available for. I remember back in the day, as people call it, you could find these machines dirt cheap. You could find them for $100, $500, maybe $1,000 could get you a really high-end game. And nowadays, that's probably the low end. It's difficult to find a pinball machine for under $1,000 that isn't completely broken or destroyed in some way. So if you're thinking about getting into the pinball hobby, that's kind of like, that can be a major gatekeep right there, is just the cost of these things. So I would encourage you, if you're going to get into it, learn about fixing machines. You're not going to want to rely on having someone come to your house and repair the machine if it breaks. There's a lot of good resources on the internet, like pinside.com, various Facebook groups for learning about pinball repair. And just from knowing how to fix stuff, you can save a lot of money for not having to call a repair person, and also save a lot of money by willing to buy games that have issues that you can then fix yourself. So that's like the bad stuff, is talking about pricing and you know how much these things cost, and that's like, you don't really want to focus on that. You want to focus on how fun this hobby really is. And the thing I love about pinball is that it appeals to all the senses, right? Pinball machines have beautiful artwork. They have very interesting, creative, industrial design on the playfields. Starting around, I'd say, the mid-'80s, pinball machines started incorporating stories and actually having like characters, memorable characters in the pinball machines. So it goes far beyond just the traditional, like, hey, just keep the ball, you know, going with flippers, right? The games have really beautiful sound effects and music, all sorts of things, and all sorts of wacky, cool gimmicks, and each machine is different. There are machines based on your favorite movie or your favorite TV show, and then there's machines that are completely original and just completely made up and created by artists and designers, just their original ideas. And those are the machines that I just happen to prefer the most. There's so much to talk about when it comes to pinball. You can talk about fixing pinball machines, you can talk about the design of pinball machines, the history of pinball machines, you can talk about playing and competitive playing and getting into pinball tournaments and actually winning money by playing pinball, because pinball is a game of skill. So there's really no good place to start when you're talking about pinball. A lot of people like to start by talking about how to get one and how much they cost, but really that's just logistics, right? The most fun is just talking about the games themselves and the history. I like talking about the designers of the games and who was responsible for making the games. A lot of the same like nerdy trivia that goes into video game history applies to pinball. There are artists and designers and sound designers and programmers that all worked on these games for many years. You know, it's the same names that come up that worked on the games. And the longer you stay in pinball, you'll actually start to recognize a certain designer's style. You can point at a game and say, oh, that's a Steve Ritchie game, or that's a Pat Lawler game. You'll start noticing these things because the designers each have their own signature things that they do. And so it's a lot more of a dense, fun hobby than the average person or even the average video gamer might give it credit for. And so what we want to establish on the LIRetro channel is just exploring the games that I have in my collection, exploring games that are in other people's collection here on Long Island, and we're just going to talk about games, and we're going to dive deep into some of the nerdy trivia, and any nerdy trivia that I know about a game, I'm going to try to deliver it to you because I just get excited about talking about that stuff. And so we're going to start in my basement and go through my games, and then hopefully we can go on some road trips and show off some other people's collection and some other games as well. So stay tuned. If you like this video and you're excited to see more pinball stuff, make sure you like and subscribe, smash that like button like you would the flippers, and I'm looking forward to showing you the next video, so stay tuned.